Welcome to episode number 3 of Carla Carter Speaks podcast. Our title is Celebrating Life, and our special guest is Sylvia Powers. Make sure you don't miss this episode. It's going to be very informative and powerful. Welcome to Carla Carter Speaks podcast. I am your host, Carla, and this is episode 3. And the title of our episode today is Celebrating Life. I have my guest here with me, Sylvia Powers, and our scripture theme for today is Psalms 118 and 17. And it says, I shall not die, but live and declare the works of the Lord. Good morning, Sylvia.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming out today and being our guest. I want to start out, first of all, by asking you to just tell us a little bit about yourself, and then also tell me what Psalms 118 and 17 means to you.
First of all, I want to say that it's a privilege to be here with you. I have seen you to be triumphant in your personal journey with breast cancer. I started working with breast cancer almost 3 decades ago after my aunt was given a terminal diagnosis for the disease. I began to talk to friends and family members about breast cancer, and what I found out is that everybody I spoke with would say, oh, my mother had breast cancer, my aunt had breast cancer. The biggest shock was that people I was speaking to that I knew would say that they had breast cancer, and I didn't know it. And keep in mind, this was 30 years ago, but in our community, we really weren't talking about the disease. But what I realized is that did not mean it was not impacting us. At that point, that African American women were more likely to die from breast cancer than any other ethnic group. And unfortunately, 30 years later, that statistic is still true today, is that African American women have a more than 40% mortality rate than any other ethnic group from breast cancer. So that has been my catalyst, and the focus of the Celebrating Life Foundation has been to make cancer powerless.
All right, that sounds good. That's good. She has an amazing foundation, and she has been just a blessing to me over the years, just a great encouragement. So, Sylvia, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are.
Well, I am a breast cancer advocate, and one of the things that we've been focused on is encouraging, empowering, and educating women, and those that are mostly impacted by the disease. We've done that in some non-traditional ways. We've had luncheons. We've done events with makeup called Reclaim Your Beauty to help engage people with reconnecting with where they were before they were diagnosed with breast cancer. Doing National Cancer Survivors Month, we host a day with an organization called Making Chemo Bearable, and we support women that are going through breast cancer by doing packages to some of the local hospitals. This year we did about 600 packages to breast cancer survivors in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex.
Wow, that's awesome. So you have not been diagnosed with
No, I
breast
haven't
cancer.
been diagnosed with breast cancer,
about...
but I've been very touched by the survivors that I've come across. And I feel that their stories, their testimonies have tremendously impacted my life with the golden nuggets and the way that they live. In all of the survivors that I've spoken with, I've never had someone say breast cancer was the worst thing that happened to me. To my surprise, some people have actually said breast cancer is the best thing that happened to them because it helped them to reevaluate their lives. I remember one young lady, she was 29 years old, and she said if she was cooking dinner and her 3-year-old son came up to her, dinner went on hold because she valued the time that she spent with her son. So just learning that not to sweat the small things and realizing that they're
I
all
like
small
that.
things.
I like that. Yes. Because most of the time when women are, anyone's diagnosed with a cancer, they feel like it's a death sentence. But cancer doesn't have to be a death sentence.
It doesn't. It can be a life calling.
Yes.
Once people such as yourself are diagnosed with cancer, it can transform that sense of pain into purpose. And realizing that your story, no matter what that is, can impact and encourage somebody else along their journey. I have a friend who was diagnosed stage 1, didn't have to have chemo. She had some radiation, and she says, well, I don't feel like a survivor because I look at people that are diagnosed stage 3, stage 4, they go through double mastectomy, radiation, chemotherapy, but she realized just sharing her testimony encouraged coworkers. So no matter what your journey is and what your story or what your testimony is, it can impact somebody else.
Yes. And that's the purpose of this podcast, is just to encourage, because everybody needs to have a little bit of encouragement on their journey. And if they've been diagnosed, it doesn't matter, if it's stage 0 or stage 4, you need to give awareness and be encouraged and have some type of hope.
Right. And that's what I admire you for, because you've always been that person to spread joy and to spread encouragement. I've seen you do that in ministry. I've seen you do that as a survivor. I just have seen you do that in life.
Yes, thank you so much. You mentioned that about the African American women, like more of them die with this. Let me know why.
Well, I think there's several variables. Number one is that we tend to present in a later stage of breast cancer. There are 4 stages of breast cancer, and that can be because of insurance. I spoke to one woman who ignored a lump in her breast until one of her breasts was like 3 times the size of the other one, because she didn't have insurance. So she knew something was wrong, but it was like, okay, when I find out what is wrong, what am I going to do? The other thing is that there is a form of breast cancer called triple negative, which tends to impact African American women more. That particular form of breast cancer seems to strike women at a younger age, before they would even consider having a mammogram. And so women are presenting with that form of breast cancer, stage 2 to 3, and they're in their 30s. So I think all of those variables make a difference in our prognosis. Of course, you are very aware early detection is the key, because not only does early detection increase your survivorship, it increases your options. When the disease is detected early, you may only have to have a lumpectomy. You may not have to have aggressive treatment. So therefore, I think not just to be an advocate and talk about mammography, just talking about taking care of your body and knowing your body. Because if one of your nipples is inverted, you know that. If the texture of your breast changes, you know that. If you end up with a rash or discoloration of your breast, you know that. So knowing that any changes to your body, that you would want to make that known to your doctor.
That's good. I heard you say early detection is key, and that is so true. It can make a big difference in the process that you have to go through. I know for myself, the first time I was diagnosed, I believe the doctor discovered, and it was an early diagnosis, and I was able to have a lumpectomy and 30 radiation treatments. So second time was invasive, but it still was early. So I agree with you for women and even men, to make sure that you do self-checks, and women get your mammograms, because it really does make a difference.
Right, and just paying attention to your body,
Yes.
and noticing, any changes, what's different, and that's in all forms, whether it's your breast, your leg, that we pay attention, and we are aware of changes, especially as we get older,
Right.
and know when those things are important and when we need to bring it to
Right.
the attention of our doctor.
Right, and not have fear, because
Right.
sometimes you may feel something, then you don't want to go to the doctor and get
Right.
that checked out.
Or you go to Dr. Google,
Yeah.
and then by that time you realize that you've got 10 minutes to live.
Yeah.
And
So we don't want any of that. We're trying to inform you.
Yeah.
And so tell me about your, you have a local 5K run that you
Yes.
do every year in October. Tell us a little bit about that and what you offer with that.
The 5K Walk Run is our Sister to Sister Fitness Festival. This is the 23rd year that we're doing it. It's at the Alan E. Sims Cedar Hill Recreation Center. And the really good thing about this event is that you can do it virtually.
Yes.
So we have people that participate in different states, and people that maybe for whatever reason aren't able to get out to the rec center, but they participate wherever they are. So we love that. In fact, we incorporated that during COVID. And after COVID, we're like, oh, we don't want to lose this opportunity, because it was really cool seeing people on the West Coast, or seeing people in Atlanta, walking.
That's awesome.
So we love that. But if you are here and you can make it down to the Alan E. Sims Cedar Hill Recreation Center, you don't want to miss it.
Right.
First of all, you're going to be one of our kickoff coaches this year. You're going to be starting it off. And the vibe that is there is so electrifying.
Yeah.
We have a lot of vendors. We usually have about 50 vendors, a variety of health things, and even clothing and jewelry. And we also have an opportunity for people to have mammograms if they don't have insurance and are over the age of 40. That will be right there on site, which will be presented by Parkland Health. Methodist Charlton Medical Center is our VIP sponsor. They will have a lot of health information as well. And it's just a lot of energy, because we have a variety of people that are involved in fitness. The Cass, who does our workout, is just amazing. She does shake, body, dance, and she gets you moving before you get started.
It is high energy there, yes, and some awesome vendors too as well. Yes, I am so excited. I'm so excited. To me, to connect with those who have gone through what you have gone through is it's amazing. It really encourages you. I always talk about you have to have a good support system. And connecting with others that have gone through what you have gone through is a great support system.
Powered by Willis Media Group. Your story is safe with us.
I want to ask you a question. You've been doing this for so many years. You've heard so many stories. How has this affected your faith?
Well, to be honest, sometimes it's difficult.
Yes.
Because you get stories that are very challenging. But it's encouraging when you see, especially now. I remember when I first started working with breast cancer survivors, and you found out that somebody was stage 4.
Yes.
The next thing you knew, you found out that they had transitioned.
Yeah.
Now I know so many people that are stage 4 and that are living their best life.
Yeah.
So in that way, it has increased my faith, and always knowing that no matter what, it's not over until God says it's over.
Right.
I still remember Annie Pearl Foster, who was actually the first lady of my church when I was much younger.
Uh-huh.
And when she got breast cancer, she was given 6 months to live, and she had 2 young sons. And she said she went home and she got in her closet and she just prayed, because she's like, God, I asked you for these boys. I need to see them grow up. And her cancer did come back, but it was 30 years later.
Wow.
So I do believe that God is still hearing our cries.
Right.
And no matter what things look like, I have seen people do exceedingly abundantly above what anybody could think or ask. So I always, no matter what things look like, I always encourage people not to give up faith and not to give up hope.
Yes, that's so good. That's so good. And I can relate to that. There's so many who have been with me on this journey, and it takes a lot out of you when you're with someone and you're going through the same thing, and then they're not here any longer, and you're still here. But God has a purpose and a plan for all of us. Our days are numbered, so we just do the best that we can do to fulfill our purpose while we're here before it's over. So yeah.
Right. And as I mentioned, I've gotten so many golden nuggets from dealing with breast cancer survivors that I'm always encouraged, no matter what the person's journey is, because everybody fights differently.
Yes.
But everybody fights.
Yes. It is definitely a faith fight.
Yes, it is.
I like when they pull out those boxing gloves. Boxing gloves. Definitely a faith fight, because it's the mind that you have to get under control. That you have to, I have to put the Word of God in there, and meditate on the Word to be able to go through this process.
And that's what I love about you when you talk about speaking the Word of God into the situation, because I've seen people that were diagnosed in stage 1 and after 6 months they were gone. I've seen people that were diagnosed in stage 4 and 27 years later they're still here. So you cannot put a period where God puts a comma. And I believe that cancer is only a comma. It is not a period.
It is. And like you mentioned earlier, we find our purpose in pain.
Right.
And some people, I know myself, I naturally was not a speaker, a public speaker, but going through this has brought out what was on the inside of me, and I've had the opportunity to speak all over, and just share my testimony these last 20 years. So it's been a blessing, what the enemy meant for bad, God has caused it to work for good in my life. So, I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that I can turn a frown into a smile and just encourage people and just get the information to them. Because knowledge is key as well, If you don't know something, how can you deal with it if you don't have the information, the statistics, knowing 1 in 8 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer.
And I have to say that I'm extremely proud of you, because I remember when you came to the Potter's House, you and your sister, and you were a little timid and a little shy, and but to see how you evolved and how you allowed God to mold you as He mended you through this entire process. I've seen you be vocal. And I've seen you to grow in your faith and your strength, your tenacity, your ability to share your testimony, and your ability to impact others. A lot of times we get it twisted when we feel that you have to come with this message and be bold and fiery,
Right.
but a message is a message,
Yes.
no matter how soft, but a message can be powerful because a message comes from your soul. And that's what I always see you speak. You speak from the soul, from the heart, and that's what penetrates the audience. Not the magnitude of the voice, but the power of the words that are echoed. And you echo your words with elegance.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I've learned that I am speaking for an audience of one, and that's God.
Yes.
I'm not here to impress anybody, you know. So if you speak to one person or 20,000 people, you know, it doesn't matter, you know, just to be passionate, and your focus is to, you know, encourage and inform and educate, you know, a person. Then that, if you do that, then you've succeeded in what you were coming out to do.
Mystic Media Productions, where your vision comes to life.
And that's important when you say for an audience of one or 10,000, because as an author, I've gone and traveled someplace, and you get to a bookstore and there's one person there. And you're like, I remember the first time that happened to me, I was like, oh my goodness, you know. But I realized that that person came out. And I had that same message that I prepared for hundreds of people. I had to be prepared to give that to that person. And we have to look at the impact that we make on individuals, as well as when you have the opportunity to speak to a greater audience. That's good, but that impact on that one person, and it reminds me of the boy that's going through this seashore, and he's throwing the starfish back into the sea, and there's so many of them. They're like, well, how can you throw all of them? He says, but for the one, it makes all the difference. So whatever you can do, and through this podcast, you have that ability to touch so many lives. So I'm very, very proud and very grateful for you being transparent and sharing your journey.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Sylvia, this has been amazing. This has been an amazing conversation, and I am sure we're going to get a lot of feedback, and you know, it's going to touch the lives of many. We're winding down, so I would like to give you the opportunity to speak in that camera, speak to the multitudes, and just encourage someone on this breast cancer journey. Just speak from your heart.
Well, I think one of the most valuable lessons that I've learned on this breast cancer journey is that we have to be an advocate for ourselves. And I remember having the opportunity to reach Susan Taylor, who at the time was the executive editor of Essence magazine. And she asked me, of the survivors that I'd come across, who impacted me the most. And there was a woman called Augusta Hicks Gale. And Augusta impacted me because Augusta had a very large chest, a double F, that which would be similar to Dolly Parton. And Augusta was a nurse. She had also lost her mother to breast cancer. So she was very familiar with the whole journey. But of course, it was different when it impacted her, and she was going to have a double mastectomy. She had just started a new job with a new hospital and did not think about the fact that her insurance hadn't transferred to this position. The day before she was going in the hospital, she got a call and was told that they would not be able to admit her because she didn't have insurance. She was devastated. She had no idea what to do. At the time, Nancy Reagan had just come out about having breast cancer. Augusta Gale picked up the phone and called the White House. She got Nancy Reagan's personal assistant, and at that time she was crying, she was hysterical, and Nancy Reagan's assistant told her to calm down and that everything was going to be okay. After she hung up, she received a call back from the hospital, and they said they had a bed ready for her. she's told me several times she does not know what would have happened if she hadn't had the courage to reach for a higher source. Augusta Gale called the White House. Sometimes it's not about getting to the White House, but it's about reaching out to God. Wherever you are, whatever you're going through, don't be afraid to reach out to God and make your request known. But also, always don't be afraid to advocate for yourselves. It can make all the difference.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. That was beautiful and very encouraging. And I'd like to add to that, never give up. Never give up. Sylvia mentioned earlier, that cancer is a comma,
Not a period.
not a period. So as long as you have breath in your lungs, just continue to press on, continue to believe, continue to connect to those who can encourage you and help you, but never ever give up, because there is a blessing on the other side of you going through this situation, and God can change pain into purpose. Thank you.
To connect with Sylvia and the Women of Celebrating Life Foundation, plan to attend her October event.